Ladies and gentlemen, Melina. Da, 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 da. Guys, I love this hair. Da, 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 da. Melina loves this hair that she wears. Da, 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 da. Now, guys, I watch Michael Jackson videos for sure because Michael Jackson is entertaining, really, really good. He was really good as an entertainer. And people tend to forget that with all the crazy stories that went on about him. But, it's like, so we all see that he was kind of like secluded and very much not part of society and just like an entity all on his own, But, he had his mansion and lived there and he had his family and friends and I would see him and stuff like that. And he was so famous, right? Like it's like at that point you're just like, what are you gonna do? Like you can't just go anywhere without it being normal, right? But anyway, he was like very much, like uh, like very much under the spotlight and very much people paid very much attention to everything he did. But the thing about him was he was always getting plastic surgery, and so people felt that there was something off about him. And it's obviously body dysmorphic disorder, that kind of thing that led him to that. He didn't want to look like his dad, and his dad wasn't the best looking man in the world, but still, you should be proud of your dad, even if he doesn't look the best. Um, so he didn't want to look like his dad, and he very much wanted to focus on being someone that was, you know, good looking in his terms. What he wanted to be good looking as. So he was very famous, very very famous. But the thing about him was at the end of his life, he basically stayed home the entire time. And he had a mansion, a huge mansion, but you have to go out. You can't just be always staying at home, right? Doesn't matter um, if you're like this huge celebrity. I know at some point, and I mean, he collaborated, he performed, but I mean, he was so used to having no childhood, like when he was younger, he really didn't have a childhood, he really didn't have a life, and so he probably was just used to that lifestyle. But like he had done a Pepsi like a concert one time, and he got a bald patch on his head because I guess the pyromaniac. What's that called when you have fireworks in a video or when you're performing live and you have fireworks? I forget what that's called. Anyway, pyrotechnics or something like that. So he had that, and then it caused him to have a bald patch on his head, and then he had to wear wigs, right? And then the plastic surgeries on his nose, and then his nose fell off, and then bleaching of his skin because he had a disease that made patches of black and white all over his skin. He had a really hard life. He was really great and talented. We loved him. Um, but he had a really hard life. And I noticed that a lot of people were not afraid to say many things about him in interviews. It's like, you see him and you think, my goodness, he really was not necessarily threatening, but threatened. Constantly there was interviews on him where people were trying to get him to be exposing of his. First, they were saying he was a pedophile, right? So they were giving that kind of thing out there, which he wasn't considered guilty. So they never really proved that. But that's obviously difficult to deal with. Then they were saying he was like weird and wacko jacko and all that. And it's really, I mean, we really have to say he went through a lot. Like my life is. I mean, I'm not famous. I will get famous. My life is very good. I don't think I have to worry about anything really. But it's like all this because he had so many plastic surgeries and had a Neverland Ranch where he had kids come on there. And it's like it's strange. It's like I don't know. I just think I feel bad for him. Like well now he's passed away, but like his family must think what all that stuff that he went through, like it's way too much. Like look at Janet Jackson. She goes through a pretty much better life she's got going on, and she's his sister, right? And then Latoya Jackson, plastic surgery galore, but she has I think part of it was because the relationships he had were not really like people were questioning his relationships. People were questioning whether he dated, and I think you have to, in order to be a happy, healthy person, you have to at least attempt to date. The people that are single, but some people love being single, and some people have men or women date them all the time, but they're still single, or no one wants to get married, but they date still. When you just have children around constantly and you're not dating anyone, people question that. And it's like with him, I think people should have went easier on him, especially interviewers. It's like, but that's their job, right? They want to get the sensationalized story, right? But it's like, well, what do you do when someone's like so talented and so good, yet they lead this life where it's questionable? But people shouldn't. I don't know. I just thought, he was obviously treated like garbage a lot of times, and people would say he's the king of pop and just like very much like uh, an icon. But it's like, why would you treat an icon like that, right? But I find that a lot of people that are celebrity types or people that are famous get treated badly at times, but they get treated very, very well at other times. And so it's like, well, people just get jealous, whatever. But it's like with him, they just constantly criticize him. And the people that really love him, right, very, very much, and think, why would that happen? But I mean, at the end of the day, we are all human, And I think in his case, this is even before social media. Just imagine what kind of comments people would leave on his page, in social media. They would say very bad things, during the trials, during when he dressed up, when he put his baby over the balcony, all that. And it's crazy because, people just don't know what that life is like, and people don't know how, he got to be really huge, right? So people don't know how to treat someone like that, so they just pick on anything they can, right? Anyway, totally enjoyed the show. I know.